Hi, this is Kelly Kim, and we're going to play some Stud Hello. We're going to play 5-10 with a dollar ante, so let's get started. Stud Hello is it's an interesting game too, because and all split games are interesting. The best starting hands in this game are obviously rolled up, and like you want like 3 babies with all suited. If I were to rank the starting hands, I'd say people would say rolled up aces. That's rolled up. It means getting 3 of the same card, like trips, your first 3 cards. People say rolled up aces, but I actually think rolled up 5s is the best starting hand in Stud8, just because if you think about it, like the 5 is such a key card because it makes a lot of straights. So if you have straight blockers, your hand goes up so much in value. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so right off the bat, we start with 4-5-8. This is a pretty big hand. I have 2 suits, but I also have 3 to a straight. It's not like spaced out like 2-3-8. So I already have my straight draw. It's a good hand in this game. So let's see what we catch. Okay, right away, everyone on this street all caught bricks. So we're all going to take one off. I guess the best card for my hand would be like the 7 of hearts, because then I have a gut shot straight draw and a low draw, and that didn't happen. Okay, so you can never go on after 5th street when you catch 2 bad cards in this game. Okay, see, he started with 2, 3, 4 diamonds. It's probably like in the range of best starting hands. It's like top 5. Because in this game also you want to start from the bottom up, like Omaha 8 or better, and you want to get in situations where you can win both. It's kind of the key to this game, is to win both. I mean, it's the only way you're going to win a lot of money. Technically, you could, okay, for this game, there's a lot of technical ways you could play it. In this game, like there's 32 low cards, including the ace. If you really want to analyze it or take it real serious, you could start counting all the up cards and subtracting from 32, including the ones in your hand. A lot of people at this level or these levels don't do it. You don't really need to. Like this hand is a much better stud high hand, but it's a horrible stud high low hand, so I'm just going to fold. When you play high hands in this game, like big pairs, you want to isolate. You want to go heads up because because when people are drawing to low versus a high hand, then they're in bad shape, because essentially you're free rolling, because unless they back into 2 pair and you don't, but a lot of times, like you get in situations when you play just the high hand heads up, you're gonna either win the high or split it, and that's a good situation. So a lot of times in this game, when you have, let's say I had like split aces and a 10, like I'm going to raise, or if someone raises, I'm going to 2-bet. And like you want to get heads up in situations like that in this game. Okay. Generally speaking, you never want to come in with a hand like 2 low and 1 big. It's either all big or all low. Even though in this spot it could have been a steal spot because these guys all had big cards. But at this limit, when the antes are only $1 and you're playing 5-10, like you don't need to go after the little pots in the middle. You just let it go. I mean, stud high low is a game of patience, so it's okay to wait it out, because I mean you're only anting $1. The thing about stud, well, in stud high, a lot of times in the bigger limit games, people attack the antes and the bring in, because in bigger limit games, the proportion to ante in the small bet is like 25%. For example, like if you're playing 400, 800 stud high, you're anting 100. Now, in the smaller limit games, the proportional is usually 20%. So like in this game, 5-10, we're anting $1. So like that extra 5% adds up in the long run, especially in just stud high only games. You're gonna have to go after the middle because it adds up. I mean, if you're playing a full ring of 9 players and the bring-in's 100, so there's always 1,000 in the middle right away if you're playing that big. But online, generally, all the stud games they could do it where it's always 20%. Like in some games, you're adding $1.50 because they can. Like if you're playing like 6-12 or like 8-16, they would ante $1.50. In a live casino, you would never ante $1.50. If you're playing 8-16, you'd either ante $1 or $2, and so they'd make it $2 in that instance. But in general, stud high-low, you can't really represent, so you can't really go after the antes because, like, let's say you represent with a king. I mean, if someone has like a 5, they're gonna call if they have 3 small cards, and you end up playing king high against 3 small cards. So, in this game, you can't really attack the antes. It's just not worth it. The only time you could really bluff and try to get the antes is if you have like an ace up. But even then, like, there's no like. It's so different than stud high, because in stud high, if you have an ace up and you're looking at the bring-in with the deuce, they're gonna fold like 80% of the time just because they have a deuce. And if they paired, I mean, if they have 2 deuces, then they might proceed. But in this game, all they need is like 2, 7, 8 to continue. So you can't really bluff in this game. And the beauty of this game, though, is like when you start playing it a lot, you could pin down ranges. What I mean is, like, you could decipher what they have based on the way the hands are, the way the hand's starting out and the way it develops. Because, I mean, a lot of people start low to high. Now, if someone came in with like a jack up, you could assume he has 2 jacks. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But like little hands like 3-4 and deuce 4, you start to figure it out, like what they have. And I mean, there's very intricate situations or complex situations later that like you'll start figuring out exactly what they have, and that's what makes the game so beautiful. All right, hands like 8, deuce 5, rainbow. Okay, yes, I have a low draw, but I really have no chance of scooping the high. But in this spot, like, I never really fold 3 low cards for at least the bring in. I mean, you know that 2 aces are behind you, they're probably gonna get raised, but it's okay. Because on 4th Street is the key card in this hand. And you see everything happens, like, okay. See, in this spot, I'm in a really bad situation. Like, I have to catch 3-6 to beat him, or 6-7. Obviously, I still have 4 to low, but spotting someone 2 aces in this game, I'm just gonna fold. It'd be one thing if I thought this guy would continue, but look, there's 22 in the middle. I'm calling every bet, and I'm only gonna win back my money and half of that 22. If it was multi-way, I would have called, because then now, like, my half of the low gets bigger. And these are situations when it gets interesting. The jack limped after 2 limpers, and the king raised. So this guy probably has kings. This guy probably has jacks, and these 2 guys are going for low. So, like, this is how you build pots in this game, is when you have 2 guys going for high, 2 guys going for low. But, I mean, in this game, if you just have lows or just have highs, you're not going to win much money. You got to scoop. So you want to start with 3 babies of the same suit. Like, if I've ever started 3 small cards, like straight cards, and they're all the same suit, I don't mind capping it on 3rd Street and build a pot. Like, this is a big hand, 2, 3, 6. I got a really big low draw, and obviously it's not perfect when I have suits, but I catch a 4 or 5 or an ace, this hand comes big. And I'm ahead of the 7, for sure. Okay, we all caught bricks. So this is where you start figuring it out. Like, this guy, he could have a pocket pair, but most likely he's just betting his 3 low. But this street now becomes very important. And we all caught bricks. He really should check. See, right now, this is what I'm telling you, you could really figure out what people have. Like, right now, I'd rather have 2 3s, because I'd be way ahead. I mean, the jacks are all dead. Nobody has a low draw. And now, what's going to happen on this street after I check is whoever catches the best low card is going to fire in this pot. Okay, now he paired the 7s, and then this guy probably paired the ace. And I caught a brick, so I'm out. But if he paired the ace, he should raise, because it's obvious this guy only has 7s. I mean, that was kind of an interesting hand, because you could kind of see exactly where you're at throughout the hand. All right, so I have an ace up and 3 to a wheel, so this is a really, really big hand. Okay. We pretty much caught, I caught like the worst card and he caught like the best card, so I'm just gonna fold. I never play hands, I mean I rarely play hands like this. 5, 7, 9 looks okay, but you only have 2 to low. I never call a raise with it. 3, 5, 8. If he folds, I'm just gonna raise coming in. Like this is a situation where I told you if you had 2 kings, you'd be optimal to re-raise and go heads up. Because now I'm only playing for low and like I have to make low while he already has high. And just like that, so far I've bricked out on every street so far in this game. But so far I haven't really seen anything out of, like surprisingly I think this is a pretty competent table for this limit, 5-10. No one's got out of hand and no one's, I haven't seen anything atrocious, so I would notice it right away if that was the case. Like right here, he came in first position with the 10 up after the bring in. It's very bad because there's like 2 queens and a king out behind. And when you play stud high-low, you almost never want to play 10s or 9s like on 3rd street. You just want to fold. Even jacks becomes questionable. The problem with those hands is because even if they're going for low, they might back into kings. Like let's say they catch a king on 5th street with a low draw, they could always river a king and that might be good enough to beat you. So, oh, he limped in with 3 spades, 3, 6, 10, 3, 6, 10 of spades and caught a 9 and he still checked. So I guess, I don't think he plays too well. 3, 6, 10, caught a 9 and he still checked 4th straight. Even though the bring-in had deuce 6 showing, but they're favorite not to have a low card behind. They're favorite not to have both low cards behind. So like when you're up against a bring-in, like heads up, even if they have a scary board, a lot of times they don't have it. So this is a very interesting hand. I have 3 clubs, but I have the queen of clubs. I'm gonna come in for a raise. Like this guy's already shown that he's not really aggressive. He had already limped. I mean, when I raised, he had a king up. He just flatted called me instead of re-raising. So I'm gonna raise more liberally in front of him because he's not gonna punish me for raising late. In stud 8, when you play in bigger limits, like the aggression goes up a lot and people are pushing marginal edges. It's a much different game when you play with a lot of like high limit players. It's way more aggressive for high hands. Like people are really pushing it, which you should because like I told you earlier, you see the action in fold, you see what people are catching. So you can kind of manufacture pots better in a higher limit game. I mean, you get heads up situations. Like you could push 2 8s. Like if you start with 2 8s and a 7 and a 3 opens for a raise, you can 2-bet them. It's not really that big of a hand, but like you could, as you watch their boards unfold, if they catch a few breaks, you're gonna win these pots. And like the key to stud 8 is winning pots like on 5th and 6th when people are catching bad and you're representing bigger. In lower limit games, like you want to get volume hands where you can win both ways, like straights and flushes with the low. Like 2 8s with a jack, you're never gonna play. Like if I had 2 8s and a 7, I can back into a low, and my 8 compared to the board is pretty big. But I'm just gonna fold here because 2 8s is not gonna hold too much weight at the end unless I improve. Like Omaha, the ace in this game is is like worth 2 cards for a lot of reasons. Surprisingly, some situations ace high wins. Like a battle of 2 lows and ace king will beat another low, like ace 10 or something. And those are really rare situations, but they happen. Well, shorthanded stud 8 is different. Now that we're 6-handed, you're gonna want to play bigger hands, and you're gonna get in more marginal situations. Like I'm gonna push jacks here now when I might fold in a ring game with a lot of limpers. But now that we're 6-handed, if we get shorter, like the higher hands go up in value and the lower hands don't, because like I said earlier, you're getting spots where you're gonna either win high or win the whole pot or chop it with the high hand. So higher hands go up in value when you're short-handed instead of. So I'm gonna be pushing marginal situations. I'm gonna push like 10s or jacks in right situations. Like this is exactly what I explained to you guys before. Like this hand, he backed into a pair of kings on the end. He obviously started with split 5s and a 3, and he caught a king in the end. In a full game, I might fold this, but this is a good situation. I have jack. Oh, he paired the 10. Okay. He just called me with a 10, and like I told you before, all day he's just been calling me with like a king or a queen when he obviously has a big pair. Like this is a spot where I could have got him for extracted a lot of bets from him, but like I can't spot someone that card. It's the worst card in the deck for me, so I'm just gonna fold. He's supposed to have 3 10s there. He might not, but that could have been an interesting hand to see, because I could have slow played the jacks against the 10s, but he got a 10 right away, so just give it up. Whenever you start with 3 low cards and you have an ace, it's a pretty big hand. See, the problem with this hand, though, is you look, there's 2 4s out, there's 3 4s out, there's an ace and an 8. So at this point, I'm a pretty big favorite only to get low if I get anything in this pot. I'm definitely not going to raise it. I'm hoping to catch a really good card on 4th, which I didn't. A lot of mistakes people make on stud 8 is proceeding past 4th straight. Okay, this is very interesting because there's 3 aces out, given I'm almost positive he doesn't have an ace, and he checked, so I believe he paired the 7. I can't believe he checked on 4th straight when everyone caught bad. I'm just gonna bet. I'm pretty sure he didn't pair the ace because there's 3 out, and now this changes things. All right, at this point, I'm hoping queens will hold up. I mean, most likely I'm not gonna catch 2 pair because the 8's, ace, and 4s. My only out here is a queen or a king. He probably paired the 7 when he checked on 4th straight. Okay, I have just queens, but we're all sharing cards. I'm really worried about this guy. He backed into like 7s and 3s. Okay, I don't mind this guy betting because it's obvious he probably doesn't have a pair. And so he either, on the river, when you don't have a pair, you either made the low or you made a pair. When he overcalls, I don't like my hand. Okay. This is exactly what I mean. Like when you play this game a lot, you can kind of figure out exactly what people have. Like in this hand particularly, when this guy checked the river, it's really when I liked it. When he bet, I don't mind. Because when you're behind in stud 8, and you're going into the last card, like you either have a pair or when he called on 6th straight, I know that he had a low draw. So I know that he made the low by his bet. Okay. All right, I just played kings against 3 low draws, but look, I ran really good on this street. Everyone caught big. So this hand goes way up. And we put in 3 bets each. Eat my boxes, just going all in. So I'm hoping to get Jibu out. By me 3-betting, if he goes out, my hand is worth a lot more. Okay, now I pretty much caught the joker. I have 3 kings now. He's got a fold. He obviously doesn't have a low draw. I guess not. Oh my god, it's gonna be gross if he has a 9. Which she probably does. Alright. I have 3 kings. I'm gonna bet. This guy can't raise. I know this guy can't raise. So he's gonna go either call in or fold. I guess he has 2 pair. That's in a pretty good situation. This person was all in with aces up. He could only beat me if he paired up for full house. So I was only up against 1 low draw. This person obviously had 2 pair too for not to call the end. I was close to scooping that pot, this big pot. I hope you guys enjoyed this Stud8 session with me. Stud8's a game that I really enjoy playing. It's very interesting. So get out there and play it and run good.